All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the September 10th, 2024 iteration of the Kubernetes SIG-Windows community meeting. As always, these meetings are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. For anybody that's newly joining us, that pretty much just boils down to be nice to everybody. So let's get started. Announcements. First announcement is the 132 release cycle has started, and the next big milestone is enhancements freeze, which is Thursday, October 10th. That's PDT. I believe it's Friday for UTC time. I've also linked to the full schedule. There is a production readiness freeze deadline about a week before that. Yeah. So Thursday, October 24th. That's anybody who's authoring like a new KEP just needs to make sure that there's kind of reviewers assigned for all of that before then. And yeah, I hope anybody who's getting a KEP in through all of that. Does anybody else have any announcements? I think that's the big one that I had. Nope. Okay. Next, we'll give some space if there's any new contributors to introduce themselves or, just ask any questions I have about the community. I see everybody on the call though, so if nobody, feel free to say anything. If not, we'll pause for a minute and if not, we'll continue with the agenda. Okay, let's get into the agenda. Lubomir, do you want to start the discussion for the status of the how to add a Windows node docs here?
Sure. Thanks. This was also a good reminder for me to tell my folks that we have a deadline for the KEPs for October 10th, which is useful for me. I've kind of phased out on this. So this is basically I'm here for discussion of the kubeadm support for Windows to going to GA. Some historical context is that this has been a collaboration between SIG-Windows and Windows since pretty much the kubeadm epoch, which is around 2017, I believe. And we, with the help from SIG-Windows members and different people, basically from communities contributing to this, we kind of got it to a beta state, and it was way back in 1.18, which is a long time ago, almost 10 plus releases ago. And in the KEP, which I believe Ben Moss originally authored, one of the GA criteria we established was good end-to-end test signal, which I think we already have based on CAPZ. I wanted to confirm that. And the other one is just good documentation improvements. And I think we are kind of missing on the docs, and this is something I wanted to discuss actually during this meeting. But another topic that I just remembered is, this is like a clarification on the technical side for me. When we introduce the host process, a privileged containers of Windows, to my understanding, this unblocked kubeproxy to run on Windows machine as part of the potentially like a daemon set. If you deploy it on a daemon set, it will, like with a manifest list, you can deploy it on Linux and Windows simultaneously. Is that true?
Yes, so that's true. Unfortunately, like James is out sick today. He's got a lot of context for CAPZ Windows support in general. I've got some context, but not quite as much as James does. Yes, so when we added host process container support, which has been GA for several, probably 5 releases now, we added the ability to run kubeproxy in a Windows container via a daemon set. And we've been doing that in the this is kind of tied to the like E2E test coverage. All of the SIG-Windows jobs that are running in Kubernetes now, even in the community clusters, are using CAPZ for Windows and or CAPI for Windows, and we do run the daemon set or the kubeproxy as a daemon set. Now, with that being said, like we can run it as a daemon set. I believe that there is one of the issues that James and I had always thought would be good to tackle before saying kubeadm was GA was an issue about how the kubeproxy is getting deployed. So today, I think there's a lot in the Windows tech there. So today it's kind of a oh, and good. I mean here too. I think I mean that some context. I mean we're talking about potentially running or moving kubeadm support for Windows to GA. Um, the one of the deploying kubeproxy is currently a two-step process, and it does require a little bit of information about the shape or the characteristics of the cluster, unfortunately. So we in SIG-Windows have really been hoping that we could have like a more or less official kubeproxy container image, like is happening with kubeproxy for Linux. You know, have it released out of Kubernetes or some other repository published to the registry.k's that or yeah, registry.k's.io and all of that today. Today, we're still building kubeproxy out of this repository, and there's a GitHub action that gets run every time there's a new release to build kubeproxy and stick it in a container image. And there's been a couple of different efforts to try and get the kubeproxy image building and released for Windows. I think it's under here. Where is it? Oh no, it's under SIG-Windows tool. Sorry. And there is an issue somewhere tracking like why we're doing like why we're doing that. So in right now we have two flavors. There's like different flavors of kubeproxy depending on if you're deploying with Flannel or Calico, and so that's it's not as simple of a user experience as just run kubeproxy or run kubeadm and then we'll get everything scheduled. Where is it? I don't know if I have it too. So we're building it and it is getting released, but starting kubeproxy on Windows does require passing in a little bit of context around the which ports we're listening on. And do you remember what's going on with this? I mean,
I saw Calico in there.
yeah, so this is
Yeah,
the
there is
kubeproxy.
source VIP. I think we need to pass
That's it.
the specific
So yeah, so right now we need to query the source bit for the endpoint or for the network adapter that we want to use, like the primary network adapter, before kubeproxy starts and pass that to kubeproxy. And that behavior can change depending on what CNI you're deploying. And so we were hoping to clean that up before going to GA, but maybe at this point it makes sense to just kind of keep this little bit of behavioral kind of anomaly in there and move to GA because as you mentioned, it's been in beta for over 10 releases, which is a long time. And yeah, and the other issue is finding a place to build the Windows the kubeproxy image. I think the latest attempt was to get the image built and published in Kubernetes, and technically that's totally possible now. And there were even some pull requests by Claudio to get all of that working. Then there was and then I did a little bit of work to try and get the Windows flavor added to the manifest list for that, and then it kind of fizzled out because it was at the end of a release, and then there were some questions about legal and licensing for which like for the host process containers that I think we still need to resolve. Basically when Microsoft released all the code for host process containers, they said it was CC0, so Creative Commons 0, which is basically do whatever you want. You can even put your own licensing on top of this. But the CNCF doesn't support any of the Creative Commons licensing. So there were some questions about can we repurpose CC0 license from one project to one of the licenses that Kubernetes does support. And I'm not a legal expert about that, so I don't know exactly what happened with that. I don't think there's any technical reasons why we couldn't publish the kubeproxy image as part of like the Kubernetes releases moving forward. It's I'll probably try and ping somebody from CNCF again to help us answer those questions.
I
So
sorry, I'm a bit confused because we also published the pause image, which I assume also uses like a base image from Windows. So look, is it like do we have a kubeproxy? We have to bake a specific base image, I assume. Is that the case? Because of this, a host process setup additional to this kubeproxy image, or am I
let
missing?
me check. I believe when we published the pause image, so with Windows containers, there's a couple of different base images. There's the nano server, server core, and then there's like a full server base image. And so with host process containers, you can run a container that's built on top of one of those other Windows container base images as a host process container. But there are some downsides to doing that. They're all documented in the documentation for host process containers. The big one is the container size. So the base container size for host process containers is a couple of kilobytes, whereas the base container image for like nano server, I think, is on the order of like 100 megabytes. So I believe the Windows image for the pause container is still the official one is still being built on top of one of the other Microsoft base images, which are pulled from mcr.microsoft.com. That's actually a really good question. So from base. Oh no. We are building it off of the
Yeah, it's an image based on a server. Basically what it has a couple
the
of
pause image is
binary
based on
tools.
the pause image is based on the open source pause image that we were building.
Yeah.
That is a really good question. I will also bring that up with yeah, whatever he's doing. Okay, yeah, I'll bring that up. But I think like technically getting that Windows pause image being built and pushed, or getting the Windows kubeproxy image coming from either the official Kubernetes release or some other, repository that's publishing to registry.kids.io, I think was one of the last things that we wanted to do before moving to GA for kubeadm support for Windows. And then the documentation, which I think is probably the next part of the discussion here.
Yeah. Just wanted to make a point. I think the image is indeed probably a blocker. If we can get it working as part of the release process, getting periodic builds on every tag to also produce a kubeproxy. I think it's a matter of I guess sorting the legal problem and collaborating with SIG release. I think also case infra people in general, everybody should be supportive to get this builds on every tag. I don't think anybody will object from our side of Kubernetes, at least, probably. Yes.
Ben was pretty involved. So he kind of covers a lot of those, like, covers a lot of those roles. So, I think, yeah, I don't think anybody was against doing it, like, technically and getting it added on. Even SIG release was on board. There was just a question about the legalese.
In terms of the Calico, sorry, I didn't quite understand what were we passing from Calico. Is it like was it the host address or what did we do exactly? I think my question there is, can we put this like an environment variable, something that kubeproxy can read potentially, something that SIG network can accept as a feature of kubeproxy? Like, can we do it in a way that is more portable and generic, so that we don't have to do it specifically on Windows setups? We can just, I don't know how to generalize this.
Yeah, that was, I'll probably defer to a meme or James. I think that was like one of the desires or plans was to be able to do that. I think that the issue, do you remember why it is like it is? I mean, instead of just updating like kubeproc like being able to set it with an environment variable?
I think
Got
it
it.
has required that hard coded somehow.
Okay, I know we've got an issue tracking this. Let me see if it's, let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it right now, but actually it should be hopefully linked to here. Go ahead though. I mean, I'll actually just look at a different tab.
I mean, maybe we can post it later. If you guys prefer, we can post it later on the KubeADM ticket or something like that. We don't have to find out. I was just curious if it's like super complicated to do, or like just trying to understand the complexity of the problem.
I my recollection is that it wouldn't be complicated, but it could something around those changes would have potentially required all of the CNIs to make a small change um to do something as well. So it was less about like difficulty, like technical difficulty, and more about enforcing consistency about how to consume those values across all of the different CNIs. But James is really the person who would be able to answer that question without digging into some history.
The problem is that the source VIP requires like a hard coded endpoint, and Calico uses one kind, and then each CNI picks one way to define this VIP interface. So the idea was to standardize this somehow. I posted an issue here where Tenda started to track or work with James quite a while ago, but not sure if this moved much.
Oh, thanks. I will take a look. This seems like a wider problem where ecosystem components need to be adapted to support this. On the same front, maybe we can segue to the docs problem. It seems like still we have to be able to apply CNI plugins on Windows in a specific way, and that's why we had this conflating discussion about adding Windows nodes in the Kubernetes website page, which eventually got removed, and I think rather moved to the SIG-Windows tools repository. And on that page, we have a list of CNI options that users can install. And that part is still custom to Windows. We just cannot do a basic kubectl apply to other the CNI, which is okay. And then today I had an argument with Tim from SIG-Docs, and basically the story I'm trying to sell to them is we want to move forward with adding this page to the Kubernetes docs, and also move the support towards GA. Of course, documentation is one of the requirements. I agree completely with that. And we should be adding this additional separate page to add Windows nodes next to a page to adding Linux nodes. And my proposal was basically, if you look at the bottom of this discussion, I have a proposal. Yes, I can send a PR for, and basically what I'm saying is that maybe we can just have this Windows task page in the Kubernetes website, and at the bottom, I can link to the CNI specific documentation that is in SIG-Windows tools, basically saying, hey, the current state is this and this, and if you want Calico, you can go to this page. If you want Flutter, we can go to this page. And because, the website has a restriction where we cannot talk about external projects like Calico, and it was actually the reason to remove the original page. So I just wanted to get your feedback if you agree with this, and maybe someone from the SIG here can comment, like plus one. And if you agree with my plan, I can send the PR for that. And basically, to kind of get this story, this particular issue closed, because I think users are still kind of confused where to find the addition of Windows Notes documentation. So I just wanted to get the feedback for this, and obviously about the whole KubeADM feature as well.
Do you have any comments on it? Then I can comment.
I think it's just a comment here from Mark Yu and Amim, maybe like I say +1, and from there I can just proceed, and also I can add you as reviewers on my PR so that you can check it later.
Yeah, the one comment that I'll make here is that I think it was always a dream for SIG-Windows to not have to maintain the documentation for each CNI, and I know Calico at least has good documentation for how to set up Calico on Windows nodes now. So if like I think our preference would be to do kind of what this says, but instead of linking to the SIG-Windows tools documentation that we have linked to the official Calico documentation, and then we can link to what we have for Flannel up until if or when they like the Flannel project incorporates that documentation. But other than that, I think I'll take a quick look at this. I think that that would be fine. I think we were just kind of caught in the middle of like where should we put where should we put this? And if there's kind of a structure in place that Tim is agreeing to, I think that will work for us.
So you said that Calico have good documentation. What about Flannel? I remember they had a overlay page somewhere, like how to use it with overlay. Do we have it?
Yes, like I don't think that's part of the Flannel documentation, but is that in SIG-Windows
Oh.
tools?
Oh, I think it was a shim or something, like separate place.
I think I remember seeing that. I think Claudio, is that Fabian who was working on that? I know we have documentation for Flannel and how to run it with KubeADM with host process containers. I would need to remember where to find it.
SIG-Windows tools maybe,
Yeah, that's what I was.
but I think at one point it was certified with the other
Maybe we did have it
Calico
for.
install guides.
I remember at the beginning there was only Flannel VXLAN, I believe, and Calico was added later. I just think there was a docs. We cross-linked to an external page for Flannel. Anyway, I'm trying to understand. Maybe this is something that you can comment on the ticket on the website. Basically, if it's not a good idea to link to the SIG-Windows guides, maybe do we have official Flannel and Calico pages that we can link to? And maybe you can give the links, because I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I can dig some of that up and comment that on that ticket that you mentioned that we just had open before too. I think I'm okay if there isn't Flannel documentation, we could link to what we have in the SIG-Windows tools. But I think we should just double check the documentation that we have for Calico and then cross-reference that with the Calico documentation and make sure that everything is good. And then yeah, preferably link to the Project Calico documentation, because that just evolves with the new releases and everything.
Yes, Tim, by the way, made this comment like preferably, as I don't know how he said it exactly, but he implied that the official canonical documentation linking to that is better for the CNI on Windows. Obviously, I think this is what he said. One of his last comment. Yeah, canonical vendor documentation is better. Yeah. So this is up to you. Somebody else from the SIG, if they have the bandwidth to just provide me with the links for Calico and Flannel. And then I can basically fire the PR to get these two separate task pages going, and we can potentially close this ticket because it has been open for 2 years, and I think it's kind of time to get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
Amim, any thoughts
Yes.
or concerns about this, Amim or Claudio?
No, if yeah, I think it's good. The plan at least is good. Let's see if it works.
Yeah, I'll
we
try
can-
and comment and provide some links later today. I've got a couple more community meetings coming up after this.
Sure. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Yep. Claudio, I saw you unmuted and you want to.
Yeah, sorry, I'm saying I have no issues with that.
Okay. Great. I think that probably covers most of what we had on the agenda, and we're almost out of time. Does anybody have anything else to discuss? If not yet, and anybody else who's interested, please feel free to comment on any, like look through these issues, comment on any of these issues. And if not, I think we'll probably end the meeting then. Thanks all, and thanks for pushing on this, Ludmir. I think it's good to drive this to completion.
Sure. Thanks.
All right, thanks all. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.